on this episode of Livin the Dream. For Jimmy and Luiza, it's day 2 at the Old Bahama Bay Resort on Grand Bahama's West End. They meet up with Who's Your Daddy Fishing for a second go at some Wahoo.
Oh, I see him on the surface. He's right there on the surface. Oh, it's a dolphin.
In search of strawberry grouper, they hit a local reef and catch something a little more than expected.
That's a nice strawberry right there. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a very good fish.
Oh my God!
Oh, you got a good one.
This is Livin the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson.
Oh my God!
Look at that, a big old blackjack. My God.
Presented by Salt Life. Live salty.
Good fish. That's what she was fighting all that time. Man, what a fish. Wow. Doesn't get any better than Baja. Yeah, boy! That's a kingfish right there. Woo!
On day 1 in the Bahamas, we joined Jimmy and Luiza on an expedition with Keith Cooper of West End Ecology Tours to dive for lobsters and feed the stingrays from the white sand beaches of Sandy Key. After settling in at the Old Bahama Bay Resort, they met up with Who's Your Daddy Fishing team to fight some feisty wahoo.
What a fish, what a way to start it. Welcome to the Bahamas. And that's what's happening on right there, the wahoo whacker. There he is, there he is.
Look at those stripes. Get him,
There he is, good fish, Luiza. What a fish, Luiza!
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Just before a storm hit, Jimmy was able to make a few more catches, which made for a nice spread back at the Old Bahama Bay.
There he is, man. Nice dolphin out here with Who's Your Daddy?
Now it's day 2 for Jimmy and Luiza at Old Bahama Bay Resort in West End, Grand Bahama. This time the forecast is clear, so the crew decides on an early start. They head offshore with Who's Your Daddy Fishing team and start dropping lines in hopes of nailing some monster wahoo.
All right, day number 2 out here at Old Bahama Bay. Still wahoo trolling. You're gonna see a lot of those coming over the next couple days. And I don't know if this is a wahoo or not. It might be a barracuda. But at least we got that drag moving early in the morning. I got that first hit of the morning, and at first I thought it was a cuda, but it wasn't. Yeah, it's coming in a little quicker here. Getting them real close. It ended up being a pretty nice wahoo. Here we go. Just a little guy. Thought it might have been a barracuda, but it's a wahoo. All right, well, welcome back to day number 2 out here wahoo fishing. And got us a little guy, but you know what? They taste just as good. Look at the colors on them, man. Little zebra stripes. Pretty fish. Wow, look at these teeth here. Look how sharp those things are. That's why I use that hard wire right there. Razor sharp, very tightly knit together teeth. Lose a finger easy on those guys. All right, we'll get that lure back out there and try it again. After that first wahoo, it took us about another half hour before we got our second hit. Oh man, this one feels like a good one, Cap. Got Captain Rudy up there behind the wheel, man. He has been putting us on these fish. You're seeing Nick back here clearing all these lines and keeping the lures moving. They're making sure we stay hooked up out here, man. And they are doing a great job of it. And all you can do when these fish are pulling is you just want to stop reeling, and you want to let them do their thing. And then as soon as they slack up, you just keep bringing them in as good as you can. Oh, I see him on the surface. He's right there on the surface. Oh, it's a dolphin. Catching dolphin is a lot of fun, man. I mean, they jump all over the place, they're very aggressive, and of course they're a beautiful fish. And when they hit the deck of the boat, man, they just start flopping everywhere. Got him. He wrapped himself. He's gonna go crazy. All right. And let me show you guys something about what we just caught them on. That's the Wahoo whacker that we've been slamming them on. And this had a green skirt on it. And we actually took some wax line, and he's still jumping. And we took the wax line and fixed that lure up so that we could keep using it because we don't have enough Wahoo whackers on board. And it's the only thing these fish want, man. We put all these other lures in the spread and they just keep coming for the Wahoo whacker. And that is not a color you pick up at stores. That's a green lure that lost the green skirt, and now it has a purple skirt from a different lure on it. And again, we're getting dolphin and Wahoo and everything on them. Feisty fish. One of my favorites to eat. They hit just about anything that moves. They jump all over the place. They're really pretty and colorful, unless they beat themselves up like this. But really awesome fish, man. Love catching dolphins. Such a fun fish.
Stay tuned for more Livin the Dream after these messages. Livin the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson is made possible by Salt Life. Live salty. Angle Coolers, the original high-performance cooler. Sea Deck. Your boat deserves Sea Deck. ACR Electronics, the science of survival. And by American Fishing Wire. Before the break, Jimmy and Luiza rose early at the Old Bahama Bay Resort and headed offshore with Who's Your Daddy fishing team in search of Wahoo. And it wasn't long before they got the bite they were looking for.
This one feels like a good one, Cap. Oh, I see him on the surface. He's right there on the surface. Oh, it's a dolphin. Really awesome fish, man. Love catching dolphins. Such a fun fish.
After the dolphin, the crew decided to relocate in hopes of whacking another Wahoo.
After catching that next fish, we trolled for hour after hour after hour with nothing at all. Nothing was biting, so we decided to just go ahead and pull the lines in and head in to go catch some lobster.
Later on in the show, Jimmy and Luiza will go reef fishing to make up for the short day on the water trolling for Wahoo. But for now, they decided to meet up with Keith again from West End Ecology Tours to go for more lobster by Sandy Key, a remote Bahamian island.
The way we were lobstering is Keith was just pulling us around behind his boat with a rope, and I was just looking down for lobsters, seeing if I could see any in the holes or on the rocks below me. And when I would see one, I would just let go of the rope, swim down and grab him. So I seen a lobster walking around in the open, which is not typical for the daytime, but it makes it a lot easier on me, so I swam down and grabbed him. Not bad, huh, Keith?
Not bad, brother.
Be carefully sharp. And then we got over an area where there was a lot of lobsters, it seemed like, because we came over an area of hard bottom, hard rock, and it seemed like there were multiple holes there with a lot of lobsters in them. So I told Keith to just drift around for a little bit and let me swim it and try to see how many I could find. You really got to take your time when you're getting the lobsters out of the holes because you want to look in them and make sure there's not anything in there that could hurt you, because there are sea urchins around there and those hurt going through your gloves, and of course lionfish, which are very bad to run into, and they definitely get down in those holes as well. We are allowed to use Hawaiian slings and pole spears and stuff here in the Bahamas to shoot lobster with, which is very convenient, but I don't do it very often unless I need to, just because I'm so used to grabbing them with my hands and pulling them out of the rocks or pulling them out of their holes.
Stay tuned for more Livin the Dream after these messages. Livin the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson is made possible by C&H Lures. Be a winner with C&H Lures. Plantation on Crystal River, the place to stay and play along Florida's nature coast. Yozuri, fish the best. Cayman Islands Angling Club. Come experience sport fishing in paradise. And by Tsunami, awesome tackle. Before the break, Jimmy and Luiza joined West End Ecology tour guide Keith Cooper and headed out to Sandy Key for a second day of lobster diving. And just like yesterday, the lobsters just keep coming in.
Once I found that area of good hard bottom, I just kept swimming down it looking for holes with lobsters in them. Good one. Lobsters do get sucked out of holes by nurse sharks and by jewfish and stuff because they'll come right up to the hole and they'll just suck that lobster right out of it. It's one of the jewfish's and the nurse shark's main diet. So those lobsters are good at staying in those holes and grabbing on tight, so you really got to pull sometimes to get them out of there. It does take a pretty good amount of muscle and effort to get them out. And then Luiza swam down and snuck up on a lobster. She came up right behind it while the lobster had his eyes on me, and she grabbed him. She's been lobstering for quite a while. She's been lobstering even longer than I've known her, and I've been with her for over 6 years. She's just really good at lobstering. Lobstering's one of her favorite things to do, and she's become just, you know, in my opinion, a pro. Right after Luiza snuck up on that lobster, I ended up seeing another one in the hole down there when she was swimming up, so I swam down and grabbed another one. You have to always swim down and look in the holes that lobsters are in, just in case there's a lionfish in there. And if you get stuck by like a sea urchin or something, you know, that hurts, that's a pain in the butt, and you don't want that to happen. But a lionfish, man, if it hits you, your day is gonna be over. Those things are really bad. I've only been stung by one once, and I don't want it to ever happen again. We saw so many other things while we were down there lobstering as well. We saw quite a few starfish, which those are always cool to see there. I mean, they're just beautiful. And we saw some barracudas, and we saw lots of other tropical fish. And of course, we seen lionfish down there, which we really don't like seeing, and those were kind of hiding out in the holes as well. We had more than enough lobsters in the ingle and in the live well, so we went ahead and headed over to a grass flat where Keith knew there was some conch, and Luiza jumped in and caught us some conch. I was very impressed when Luiza was grabbing 2 and 3 conchs at a time on one breath and bringing them back to the boat. It's amazing how quick she was getting those conch. We were in and out of there in 10 minutes.
With plenty of lobster and conch to go around, Jimmy and Luiza head back to shore to clean their lobsters.
All right, well, here's some of the lobsters that we caught with Keith today of West End Ecology Tours out of Old Bahama Bay. And all we're doing to really take the tail off is I'm just running a knife along the inside here. And it's just loosening that meat for you. That lobster's still alive. Makes it easier when you twist it, so you're not ripping the meat and losing a bunch of stuff. We will keep those heads because we'll use them later on for chum. And here's the poop line in there, which normally I would take an antenna, stick it in the hole in the back to pull that out. But we really don't have to worry about doing that because we're gonna have these cut in half and blackened for us. So we don't really need to worry about taking that out because they'll do that at the restaurant. And Luiza's already got one out as well. So we're gonna make short work of the few that we have here. Got our 10 lobsters for the guys. We got a couple good sized ones here too.
Again, if you can see in there real close, just go right around that edge. And then when you twist, it comes right out. Don't want any of that stuff. Not any good. The mutton snapper will like it though.
Stay tuned for more Livin the Dream after these messages.
So we hooked up with Mark of Old Bahama Bay and we went out on the Tingham in search of some fish that we could just catch on the reef. We just wanted to maybe catch some grouper or snapper or whatever else was biting on the reef. Okay, so what we're out here doing is we're setting up to do a little bit of reef fishing with Captain Mark of Old Bahama Bay, and we're in about 70 feet of water, and we want our chum on the bottom because we're fishing for snapper and grouper, not for the stuff that's going to be on the surface. So we're dropping some 8-ounce stinkers in the chum bag, and we're going to let this thing hover about 20 feet off the bottom. That'll sink down nicely, and it's going to be drifting far enough behind our boat here to where it really won't get in our way if we're reeling something up, hopefully. Yeah, you see it's gonna be a little ways back there. Oh, got him. Fish on. Got him on the bottom. That might be a snapper.
Nice.
Woo, sweating. Second pop and he got it. All right, well, I'm out here jigging with a 3.5-ounce Palomar jig, and the setup that I'm using is an Ocean Max 9 by Maxell and one of the Maxell jigging rods. And I got a big strawberry grouper. Look at this one. That's a nice strawberry right there. And he hit the Palomar jig. We got the wire on it. As you can see, we put some of that AFW wire on there because there's Wahoo here. Luiza was jigging with this one a little bit ago and she got hit. You can see how it's all cut up and scarred up. And happened to miss that one. But look at this here, man. Nice fish on the jig. Oh yeah, we'll bring that home for dinner. We've let a few go.
Put him in the live well.
All right, we'll do that. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a very good fish. Oh, I hope this is sister holds. Oh, Luiza just missed a Wahoo on this same jig. So I'm really hoping this thing stays together here because that fish hit it right. I think it's a mutton. Looks like a good mutton right there below the boat. Oh, it's a jack. That's a blackjack. He slammed it though. Those are actually really good to eat if you eat jacks. Look at this guy here. I'm gonna set him on the deck because he's got a sharp tail, and I wanna put my gloves on to hold him to show you guys a little bit about this fish and what to watch out for. I'm putting my gloves on because they do have a really sharp tail, and I don't wanna get myself cut, just like any other hardtail would. But this is a razor sharp tail on these blackjacks. Check this thing out running down him here. Just a ridge of bones when you get to the end. Be careful with me slinging that Palomar jig around. And that's where you hit again. That mackerel colored flat side jig. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but that is super sharp once you get to the end. You come from the back forward, you'll slice your hand on it. You can go backwards with it, but I wouldn't even recommend doing that. But if you're gonna grab a blackjack, grab him by his tail with a pair of gloves on. They also have the same thing a lot of other jacks have. See these two sharp spines right here? Those will get you too. A lot of people don't know those will pop out and get you. Just like cobia has them on their back, they have them on the underside. Pretty cool looking fish. They're real strong. It's another one I think I'm gonna release because we got so many Wahoo from yesterday. Nice fish. You got it. And that's what is happening on, guys. We've tried the other frozen bait and it's just not doing the trick. That jig is doing it. There's another look at that blackjack. We're gonna go ahead and release them. And they do taste good, and a lot of people would be pretty upset if I was releasing it, But again, we got plenty of wahoo, so he's gonna go back and look at that. Look how quick he's taking off. He didn't even let me revive him. Those fish are tough, aren't they? Luiza dropped her jig right behind me and she got slammed as well.
Oh my God!
Oh, you got a good one. There's your black. Get him before he gets to the rocks. There you go.
It's a race against the sharks and the rocks here.
You guys see what happened, right? I catch all these little fish, and then she comes in behind me and makes me look bad.
I think I'm back on the board. What do you think?
I think so. Let's see. Oh, it looks big. It looks big.
Oh my God.
Look at that, a big old blackjack. My gosh. It ended up being a huge blackjack, one of the biggest blackjacks I've ever seen. I said, what color jig do you want? She said purple.
Purple.
Look at this thing.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Holy crap.
Weren't expecting that, were you?
No.
Let me show you his teeth as well. I'm trying to pull this back for you. Look at this. Look at those guys. Gosh, Luiza.
It's incredible.
Woo, that's
Hey,
double
wow.
the size of the one I just caught.
I might be
It's
in
a
first
monster.
place. I don't know. What do you think?
And after that, Luiza hooked another strawberry grouper.
Oh, fish on. Big one.
Good job, Luiza. He's coming up easier now. We're whooping him.
On a piece of threadfin.
It's always nice seeing a bunch of strawberry grouper come to the boat.
A strawberry grouper. We caught a few of these today.
And right after Luiza landed that one, she just took the hook out and released it.
Wow, look at this. Such a pretty fish.
The weather was great this particular day. It was flat calm. It was like a sheet of glass out. There was almost no wind. The weather was warm. Everything was perfect.
All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and release this little guy because we already have a bigger one for dinner tonight. So I'm gonna let this one go.
For more fishing and diving action, follow along on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter at Captain Jimmy Nelson. Livin the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson was brought to you by Salt Life. Live salty.